Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Exchange. My name is Scott Morganroth, known as the Horse Motor Mouth, because my voice is working a little overtime because I've been dealing with a couple of vaccines that are designed to do what they're supposed to do. So if you wonder why I'm a little bit of hoarse, I'm not talking about the thoroughbreds. I'm talking about the vocal cords. All right, anyways, pleased to be joined by Rick Curdy. Welcome back, Rick.
Thanks, Scott.
Candy Ebling, welcome back. And I got to tell you, Candy, you talk about an MVP year, the way she's had to fill in for a lot of my shows lately because my throat hasn't been working well. I've been under the weather. Thanks, Candy, for filling in admirably.
You're welcome. I don't know if that makes me the backup quarterback or the relief pitcher. I don't know. I'll take whichever position it's up.
All right, well, you know what? I'm in a good mood. Let's get this out there. Hi, Felicity Jean. Glad you're on here tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. Okay, and next is Smoking Jeremy B.
Howdy, fellas. Good to be back, and lady.
Thank you.
And last but not least, the author, George Eichhorn.
Hello, everyone. Good to be back on the show, and looking forward to it.
All right, well, the episode's called Tale of Three Game Threes. You want to know what that is? I encourage you to stick around. I will give you a reason why I came up with this 3 title. All right, with that said, we'll lead off with the NBA. Draymond Green is suspended by Joesumars for stomping on Sacramento Kings center damartessabonis. His past history resulted in this action. Joesumars calls him a repeat offender. And of course, Stevekerr obviously always has to have his back a little bit. But Rick, what do you think?
Draymond Green is a clown. He needs to be out of the NBA. He keeps doing this over and over and over and over. I'm sick of him. Stevekerr needs to grow a set and get rid of him. Joesumars, I mean, he's a repeat offender. So why is he only getting 1 game? Should have been like 5 to 10 games. And Draymond Green will never, ever listen. He's always the victim. The guy could grab my foot. Okay, grab your foot. You don't stomp on him, on his sternum like that. You got to seriously hurt him. And, he doesn't care. So he needs to be out of the league. He needs to be gone. Adam Silver just needs to grow a set. He's another one who is a doormat. And just tell Draymond, you're gone. You're out of here. Go play in Australia or go play in China. Go play somewhere else. Go play for Puerto Rico. Just you're out of the league because you're just you're a danger to the league. And it's just ridiculous what he got.
Well, there's no question he's a loose cannon. I know what he's doing on his free time tonight, doing a podcast as he likes to do them when he's not working. All right, we're going to turn it over to Candy. What are your thoughts about Draymond Green?
Draymond brings, he's complicated. He brings a passion to the game that gets him in trouble at times because he can't control his anger and how he reacts to some things. He's complicated, though, because he also brings a passion that energizes people and stuff like that. The GM for the Warriors said that he's complicated, but that they don't think that they would have won the championships without him because he brings an energy to the game and to the guys that he's playing with. But he's dangerous on the court. He needs to learn to reel that temperament in and use it for good. Although maybe he thinks he's using it for good. I'm not sure.
Well, you remind me a little bit of Dennis Rodman, who's a little bit of a loose cannon as well. But all those two guys have in common. I think Draymond Green could have played in any era because he loves rebounding and defense. So, Dennis Rodman may have come up with a little bit of drama, but he also produced championships, and that's what they have in common. Turn over to you, Jeremy.
Draymond Green is becoming a head case. That's all it's coming down to. Look at what he did to Jordan Poole prior in the offseason. Look at what he's done in previous seasons. He's done it over and over again. It should have been more than 1 game. It should have been the rest of this series.
Okay, well, so our first game and off to George Eichhorn.
Well, if I'm Tom Izzo, I'm sitting in East Lansing and I'm saying I don't teach that kind of stuff because I know Tom Izzo and he does not teach that kind of behavior. Draymond Green, you're a travesty right now, and you're putting a black mark on East Lansing and Michigan State University by some of your antics, but maybe you just don't care. I agree with Rick. He should have got a lot longer suspension. And Jeremy, too, what he said. I'm not saying the whole series, but hell, he should have got at least 3 games. And I'm disappointed in my man Joe Dumars for not trying to extend that. But I have a lot to think about there, because Silver probably would have said, oh, no, Joe. No, we can't have that many games. He's one of our stars. The big ratings come in for the late game with Golden State. So who knows what goes on in the NBA behind the scenes. But I'm sick and tired of Draymond, and I'm sick and tired of your antics. And you could have very well hurt that player and stomped on him the way you stomped on him. Could have hurt him even further, I'm saying. And it was just disgusting.
All right, well, there's our first game 3. Now because that's what it is they'll be sitting out game 3. The second one, game 3 that we're going to talk about is the LA Clippers star Kawhi Leonard has been ruled out for tonight's game 3 clash against Phoenix Suns due to a right knee sprain. The team announced per NBA insider Mark Stein. Well, Rick, you always like to talk about Giancarlo Stanton being made of glass, but I have to tell you, wonder about Kawhi Leonard too, Rick.
I actually like Kawhi Leonard. So, but yeah, he's always injured. He's a great player, and the Clippers definitely need him. The Warriors don't need Draymond Green, okay? He's so overrated, it's pathetic. They need Kawhi Leonard. He's the star. He's the guy that sets everything in motion. He won championships with the Spurs and with Toronto. He's a great player. If they don't have him, the Clippers have no chance of going to a finals.
All right, before I turn over to Candy, I should mention that the audio version of the Sports Exchange can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcast. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Also, please comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. Send your topic ideas to South Florida Tribune at gmail.com. Or if you're watching on Twitter, you can hit me up at Tribune South and direct message me there. I'll be more than happy to get back to you. Also, if you want to advertise, please call 954-304-4941. We are live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Now I'll turn it over to Candy.
So Kawhi is a good player. I mean, let's face it. He's been averaging 35.5 games during the first round series. He's playing in his first playoff game since 2021. He scored 38 points in game 1 and led the Clippers to a 115-110 victory. Who would have thought the Clippers would have won? I mean, the Clippers have been a foregone conclusion, but he's really helped them out. I remember back when he's been a Bucks killer. Let's put it to you that way. Since I'm a Milwaukee Bucks fan, he really took it to us. So I remember those days. He's scrappy. He works hard. He gives it his all. Yes, he's been injured quite a bit, but when he's in there, he's very effective.
Yeah, well, the Toronto Raptors got a rental, but they got hardware for doing it. So, and he stepped up his game when the Raptors won their lone championship, in addition to the fact that we know how important he was to the championships of the San Antonio Spurs. All right, Smoking Jeremy B. Pick up where I can't talk right now anyways. I bet everybody's probably getting a lot of LOLs that I can't talk a lot.
Kawhi Leonard is a better version of Anthony Davis. Both of them spend a lot of time in street clothes.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay, well, I may not talk a lot tonight, but that's the shortest comment I've ever heard, Jeremy. But that isn't worth knocking off my hat over. All right, George, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, it's a huge loss for the Clippers. I mean, even if it is one game, I mean, these series are so short, you hate to miss a star. And obviously, if you're on a team like the Clippers, you need every single minute and every single point that young man's going to score. And he's a good player when healthy, very good player, very good scorer, and they are going to miss him. But that being said, like any head coach says, hey, who's the next guy off the bench? We got to fill in. We got to play the game. There's no sorrow. There's no tears. Get your butt in the game. Whoever he picks to fill in the gap, just like any head coach says. And it's true. I mean, you especially now. I mean, there's no tomorrow, as they say. You're in the playoffs, although these games are not won and out. But obviously, a game 3 is always a very important game, and I hope that he gets healthy for the Clippers' sake.
Well, I will say one thing about this whole thing. Tyronn Lue is proving to be one heck of a coach. He really is. Kawhi's out tonight. He's had to deal with this series without Paul George. And yet, I still think Phoenix is going to win this series and the Clippers are overmatched. But I'll tell you what, you can't blame it on Ty Lue and Russell Westbrook. He's managed to get something out of him. And Russell Westbrook proved that he could play a little defense in game 1 when the Clippers were able to pull out a win. And our final 3 for the night is the battle of the last 2 NHL Presidents Trophy winners. First time that's ever happened. The heavy underdog Florida Panthers defeated Boston Bruins 6-3 on Wednesday night. The series resumes tomorrow here in South Florida. Boston set the record for most wins with 65 and points, 135. Florida had 92 points to reach the playoffs with a few days left in the season. I will say this about the Panthers. They are on house money. They really are. The Bruins seem a little bit nervous because they were heavy favorites. So I'm going to go to you, George, first, and then I'm going to move it around the other way. Okay. Does the regular season matter? Because obviously we know in Detroit, let's go back to a flashback when the San Jose Sharks beat the Red Wings, the 1-8. But George, does the regular season matter? And what are your thoughts about the Florida Panthers?
Well, I think the regular season does matter, but I don't think the emphasis should be on obviously cleaning up and winning every game. But that being said, I mean, it's hard to tell a group of athletes, oh, by the way, tonight, now you guys really don't have to go all out. And this happens a lot. You mentioned, Scott, the Red Wings have done it. It's happened to other teams in the NHL over the years. They win that points total, but man, oh man, we're not talking about just winning it. I mean, they established league records, like you said, the Bruins did this year. I went out on a crazy limb, and I know Candy remembers this last week when she asked me about the NHL finals, and I said, I think Florida's going to come out of the East, and the jaws dropped. And I know it's a crazy prediction, but I got that sneaky feeling if it's not Florida, it might be the next team that Boston faces, that somebody is going to get in there and upset them. And I know Florida won 1 game already, but I'm telling you, whether it's them or the next round, Scott, it's a bit of a jinx, this President's Trophy. When you have such a dominating year and you blast away and you win so many games and you set so many records, sometimes it just catches up with you in the playoffs because, as you know, and I know, that this is such a grind. This hockey playoffs, we've talked about this before on your other shows. We think, you and I know, Scott, agree on this, that it is the toughest postseason out of all.
Oh, no question about it. It is. I mean, but think about the Panthers for a minute. Last year, they beat the Washington Capitals to win their first playoff series in over 25 or 30 years. They got that gorilla off their back. Now they're walking into this season against a team which is a buzzsaw. And I mean, literally, these numbers that the Bruins posted, okay, are never going to be broken ever in the National Hockey League. And now, if by chance the Panthers find a way to win it, I mean, this isn't just an upset. This is a big, huge upset.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing full well you got records that are never going to be broken. Obviously, you know about the President's Cup, jinx. So, Cats fans haven't had a lot to cheer about over the years, but they did get a playoff series win last year against Washington, and now, they're playing the Bruins competitive. The Bruins beat them in game 1, 3-1. And I hear they didn't even look that great in that game, but Boston got the win. But then to be able to score 4 unanswered goals against Boston on the road, that's pretty remarkable work by the Panthers. So, all right, Jeremy.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, the regular season really doesn't matter because it's what you do in the postseason that matters. It doesn't matter whether it's a 1 seed or an 8 seed. Any of them have a chance to go all the way because any given... That damn dog.
Oh, that's okay. Well, I think the Bruins might be thinking about that dog, too, if they lose another game, because then their fans are going to be barking at them. Go ahead, Jeremy.
And we've seen it many times, especially in the NHL, where a lower seed beats a higher seed. So therefore, it's just making the playoffs. The regular season, it's about having that grind and staying healthy.
Okay. All right, Candy.
Since the 85-86 season, President Trophy winners have won the Stanley Cup 8 times. So 8 times they've won both the President's Cup and the Stanley Cup since 85. It was the 86-87 Edmonton Oilers, the 88-89 Calgary Flames, 93-94 New York Rangers, 98-99 Dallas Stars, the 2000-2001 Colorado Avalanche, 2001-2 Detroit Red Wings, the 2007-2008 Detroit Red Wings again, and in 2012 and 13 it was the Chicago Blackhawks. So it's not like it's never been done, but it isn't easy to do. But you have all said winning the Stanley Cup is one of the hardest things to do. And we've often said, like we say about the Super Bowl, it's not how you it's not how you played in the regular season. It's the momentum that you take from the end of the season into the playoffs and how you play in the playoffs. Because a team, if you get hot at the right time, nobody can stop you. That's why you play the game. If we didn't play the game, we could just say, oh, the President's Cup is the winner of the Stanley Cup. But we play the game for a reason, because any team can beat any given team on any given day.
Love the way Candy comes up with this information. All right, Rick.
Well, we've seen this before where a team does really, really well in the regular season and they don't do well. I mean, we saw that with the Dodgers last year, where they won 111 games and they absolutely choked. And I'm not saying the Bruins are going to choke. They're not going to win the Stanley Cup. We've seen this before. I remember one year, and George probably remembers, when the Red Wings set the record for most wins in a season. And they were stacked and loaded, and they lost. I don't think they even made it to the finals. So having the best record doesn't matter. Everybody's 0-0. And all the pressure's on Boston. There's no pressure on Florida at all. It's all on Boston. And, it's all on them. And so we'll see what happens. I don't see them going to the finals. I don't see them winning it. I think if not Florida doesn't beat them, someone else will. It just happens all the time. You do so great, and then when the playoffs come, you're just so tired, and all these other teams are so happy just to get in that you're the target right now. And Boston's got that big red bullseye that everybody wants to get rid of. So I don't see them winning it, and I think the curse of the President's Cup will continue.
Yeah, well, couldn't agree with you more there. I will say this in closing the topic before we go to our parting shots, that when you think about the way the regular season is played, where you're playing so many games, but at different times, not like you're playing so many in a row, during a series format, adjustment after adjustment after adjustment after adjustment. And, the officials, they swallow the whistle. They let a lot more go. And, you talk about 16 wins to go ahead and have to win a Stanley Cup. There's no doubt, we've talked about it on past shows, that I do believe that the NHL is the toughest championship to win. I would say MLB is probably next because of the length of the season. The NBA, because of load management, I wouldn't worry about it. And if anybody wants to call me or accuse me of being sarcastic, go ahead and do it. I can handle it because load management is killing the NBA. Is there anyone that I'm forgetting here? I don't know. NFL. I think in that situation, it's just a matter of, to me, the team at the healthiest at the end of the year wins it. That's a tough championship too. All right, we're going to go on to our parting shots. Okay, Rick, lead off.
Well, Matt Patricia's back in the news. He actually got a new head coaching job with the Eagles. Congratulations, Matt Patricia. And my question to the Eagles is why? Why are you bringing this guy who's a horrible head coach, who last year ruined or tried to ruin a young quarterback in Mac Jones? Him and his cohort, Joe Judge, And so now you're going to a team that was in the Super Bowl. Are you kidding me? Why Eagles? And all these guys, Josh McDaniel, Matt Patricia, Joe Judge, Charlie Weiss, all should be kissing Tom Brady's feet, because if it wasn't for Tom Brady, these guys would be irrelevant. They would not be getting head coaching jobs, and they would not be getting prominent jobs. So, and even Bill Belichick, because he can't win without Tom Brady. So, you know what, Matt Patricia, congratulations, but Eagles, this is a head scratcher to me.
Yeah, I believe he's a associate consultant. Is that what I heard? I don't know.
Defensive
Yeah, he
consultant,
shouldn't be
yeah.
the cowboy.
He that's funny. What is it, George? Defensive what?
Defensive consultant, yeah.
Yeah, that's good enough. Let him consult. That's all he needs. All right. With that said, Jeremy, give me your parting shot, please.
My parting shot is someone said that the Golden State Warriors didn't need Draymond Green. It's funny that when Steph Curry is out, they can still win 60% of their games. But when Draymond Green is out, they can only win 38%. He is needed for that team to win.
Okay, very good. I like that one. Okay, Candy, give me your parting shot.
Next week, ESPN is going to begin layoffs as part of Disney's cost cuts. The job cuts are part of Disney's broader effort to eliminate 7,000 jobs. Yes, 7,000 jobs. They're cutting costs. They haven't said the cuts are going to include some on-air talent and management, and they haven't announced who it is yet. One of the things that Disney and ESPN is going to do, though, is ESPN is interested in renewing a contract with the National Basketball Association and will likely have to pay a significant premium on the $1.4 billion per year rights fee it already pays the league. Disney is planning on cutting $5.5 billion in cost, but yet they're going to have to pay how much for the NBA? They will, for the first time, ESPN will have to release its financials, and it'll be interesting to see who gets cut and what we find out, how much money ESPN actually spends.
Unbelievable. And I've had a couple people that I know, Jay Crawford, who they should have never have gotten rid of, who was the only one that could do anything with cold pizza first take left. I had him on a show previously, Dave Barnett, and it's amazing all the good talent that they let get away. It just boggles my mind. I haven't watched it in a long time unless I watch a game, but that's it. But that's for another story. Hate to see more jobs getting lost because you're overpaying for certain properties. Okay, George.
Well, folks, I've preached about it before, and I'll continue to harp on it. It's baseball doesn't belong in early April in some of these cities that are cold, Midwestern cities. It was despicable. If you saw any film footage from the Detroit Tigers doubleheader the other day against the Cleveland Indians, and a crowd that was announced at 10,000, give me a break. There were no more than 100 or 200 people in the stands at Comerica Park, despite the fact that the Tigers would claim their fourth and fifth consecutive victories. That didn't matter. Fans were not going to show up for that doubleheader, that emergency doubleheader against the Guardians. I said Indians, sorry. And the crowd was a testimonial to the fact that even in Detroit, which is a very good baseball town, you're not going to be able to get fans on a weekday that early in the season. The kids are in school. You're playing the games during the day. The guys and ladies are at work. And the weather, of course, didn't cooperate either. But it was just a pure indication that even in a baseball town, bad weather, cold temperatures, and up until then, a pretty much losing Tigers team was a disaster, a recipe for disaster at Comerica Park. And I wonder how many vendors were probably sent home that morning or were told by their bosses at the ballpark, stay home. We don't even need you here. The ticket takers, the vendors who make a living in the parking lot attendants. It's a shame. But another example of why greedy baseball should not start so early in the year.
Okay. All right, I'm going to stay on the diamond too, but go across the world with this parting shot. Trevorbauer is playing in Japan, where you can't, when you can't get a job in MLB because of his domestic violence transgressions, he might as well go there to play on a 1-year deal. And if he performs well, and hope he gets another opportunity to get another chance. I heard that the fans cheered him, and they don't know much about his recent issues. Well, that just goes to show you, when you're bringing Major League Baseball star power over to Japan, they don't care at this particular point. Trevorbauer made some major mistakes with his domestic violence. I definitely believe that MLB did the right thing, banishing him from the game. His agent, rachelluba, I have to give her credit. She was able to find her client a job somewhere. I do believe in second chances. I really do. When I look at a lot of the different athletes that have gotten them, I hope that Trevorbauer goes to Japan, has an opportunity to realize that when I'm going there, I can play well in Japan, but it gives me an opportunity to cleanse my head a little bit and realize that, hey, you know what? There are some offenses that are worth a second chance, and there are some of them that obviously aren't. I hope for his sake he performs well, and we'll find out whether or not he does get another chance, because right now, there's nothing worse in anybody's mind to know that when you're not wanted, it's the worst feeling on the planet. And maybe this will give Trevorbauer a fair amount of things called humble pie. So, Trevor, I'm sure we'll see how you do out in Japan, and he's actually playing in the Nippon Professional Baseball League for a team called the yodohamadenabaystars out there. So we'll see whether he can resurrect his career for sure, but time will tell. All right, everybody, it's been a really great show here. Really enjoyed it. And I know that my crew, obviously, they've done a great job in my absence for a little bit. So what I'm going to do is go over a few ways to go ahead and let everybody know how they can get a hold of us. I'll let you guys do it first. Rick, why don't you let everybody know how they get a hold of us?
You can find me on my website, www.charlottebats.com. You can go on there, sign a petition to bring Major League Baseball to Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm also on Facebook at Charlotte MLB and Charlotte Bats Baseball. I'm on Instagram at Charlotte Bats, and I'm also on Twitter at Charlotte Bats Baseball. And my email address is cltbatsbaseball@gmail.com.
Very good. All right, Jeremy.
You can find me at the SouthFloridaTribune.com under the Motor City Tribune heading, where you'll find me under a list of great authors such as Scott Morganroth and George Eichhorn. You can also find me right here on the South Florida Tribune channel any night of the week that Scott needs me. I'm his go-to guy. When he needs someone, I usually show up, unless I'm sick. And then there's my channel, Kneecap Biting with Smokin' Jeremy B., which is now presented by Sideline Sports. I have shows on Wednesdays and Fridays. Wednesday is my NFL Roundup Table Talks, and Friday is my Lions Fan Cave Talk. Then on Friday, I am also a part of the Gauntlet on Sideline Sports, and I'm quite sure I might be added to more in the future.
Well, undoubtedly, you're a workhorse, and you should. You're a very valuable part of what we do. Rick, also want to thank you tremendously for what you do to help us on social media. All right, Candy, we'll let you go, and then George, and then I'll go over everything one more time, how people can watch and listen to us. Go ahead, Candy.
So Tuesday nights at 7:30, you can catch me sometimes on 3 Chicks in a Pod or Chicks in Salsa, but you can always catch me here. You never know when Scott's going to use me here. We do a Wednesday night sports exchange that I'm normally on. Thursday nights, normally we have Inside the Pigskin. We're going to have a special edition, though, on Monday of Inside the Pigskin, because we're going to take next Thursday off to watch the NFL draft. If you're interested in listening to our podcast, it can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, or wherever you get your podcast. There's a little red button in the lower right corner next to George. It says subscribe. Click it. You never know. You might be our 1,000th subscriber. Like it. Share us. Share the broadcast all over the place. You want to be a guest? Send topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. And if you want to advertise or sponsor a show, call Scott or email us. Scott's number is 954-304-4941. You can email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. We are live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. You can also go over to our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. You can see all kinds of great content. You can get all of our shows. You can look. I take sports photography, so I have galleries of pictures there. Jeremy writes for us. George writes for us. Scott writes for us. Rick even wrote for us for a time. It's been a while, but he contributes in different ways. I think that covers it, Scott. I think.
Well, you did a good job, even though I'm still hoarse, and I'm not talking about Mr. Ed the horse, just my voice. The one-liners don't go away, even if the quality of my voice goes. So with that said, we'll turn it over to the author. Everybody's got to have a nickname. We'll just call George Eichhorn the author. Go ahead,
The
George.
author, yes. And I forgot to mention in the parting shots, too, congratulations to Clarissa Shields, as Little Caesars Arena is going to be hosting its first ever boxing event the same weekend as the Detroit Grand Prix. So I want to put a plug in for that. Clarissa Shields and her the middleweight championship bout that she's going to be in. Welcome. Anyways, the Detroit.
Well, I actually went ahead and tweeted that today.
Thank you, Scott, for doing that.
No problem.
Detroit
Go ahead.
Sports Broadcasters on the Air is the name of the book. And there are a few boxing pictures in here. Scott's in here with a guy named Muhammad Ali. We all know what he did in his fabulous career, and his daughter, too. What a great career she had. And Chris McClure, I saw a picture in here. The old boxing announcer, a Detroit staple, is in the book as well. The book's available. There's a link at the end of my columns that appear at the Motor City Tribune under the South Florida Tribune, as was mentioned. I'm a writer and contributor, and I'm on the Baseball 108 Stitches show, the Sports Exchange, wherever Scott and Candy need me, and looking forward to the Fire Up shows, and once in a while a guest on Inside the Pigskin. So you can follow me there, and it's a great part of my life, and I appreciate that. I wanted to also tell you that you can get a hold of me on Twitter at SNG Sports 99, and also email me at gicorn@yahoo.com. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm glad everybody's got a lot out there. The only thing I got left here tonight is just to give everybody a preview of the only show next week that isn't going to be football. And that's why I told Rick Curdy to refrain from this, because they get plenty to talk about the Oakland A's pending move to Las Vegas. So that'll be on Inside the Pigskin with our baseball crew. So stay tuned for updates. Meanwhile, on behalf of Rick Curdy, Candy Ebling, and
Who wants to say a last word?
Remember, fans, try every day to be a better person than you were the day before, because that's the only way to make the world a better place. It starts within here.
Words of wisdom. Very good. And George Eichhorn, my name is Scott Morgan, the Motor City Madmouth tonight, a.k.a. the Motor City Mildmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of the Sports Exchange.
Good night.